So I'm finally home in my bed. And yes, I have a bonnet on. Because you know why? Bonnets are made for sleeping or for showering if it's a shower bonnet. Not to be running around in the street. I know back in the day, we've all done things that, as we get older, we're like, damn. Because I used to go out with rollers in my hair. Perception can often be reality. So people are going to judge you regardless. But I just had to weigh in on the whole bonnet issue. Because I'm just like, when I be seeing people wearing a bonnet in the street, it's like, why? For what? Because you think you're part of bonnet gang? Oh my God. Get for real about yourself. So anyway, we're going to talk about my job. Because I'm ready to quit. And you know you're fed up when you don't even have another job lined up yet. And you're just ready to walk out the door. I got transferred to a new store after having to deal with so many issues from another store not being managed properly. Staff either not being trained properly or saying they weren't trained properly. Which one is it? So at this new store, well, it's new to me. Everybody except for maybe one or two people have been working there longer than me. So I come in with the expectation, especially as they're a shift manager, that they should know how to do their job. And if they haven't had all the training for the shift management position, they should at least at a bare minimum get the training as a team member. Okay? Wow. Let's just say I am so fed up because for the past week, every shift that I've worked on with different people, mind you, it's been so many performance issues that what's going on? Like, for example, I had to deal with one guy, always on the phone. And he's been talked to from management about this. So why is he still doing it? Why is he still working there and still doing it? Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Now, he did get written up because I spoke up about it. And I was like one of many people. I actually try to give people a chance. Before I report them, write them up, recommend them to be written up, I give them a chance to accept feedback. Because that's important. Everybody has to learn how to accept feedback. Now, don't get me wrong. You can tell when somebody is trying to bust your chops or trying to, get on you for something that they didn't train you to do. To me, that's kind of different. But even still, be open to feedback and improve your performance. And part of the way that you get people to improve their performance is to show them how to, not just have a conversation with them, but show them how to improve their performance. So, point in case, I had told him on a previous shift, I cannot have you on the phone when you're working. He knows this. He's like, okay, but I gotta just make this call. Well, if you need to make a call, let me know so you can step off the floor, make a little call, but come right back to work. I'm flexible. I'm very nice. I'm, willing to go above and beyond for employees that do their job. And most of the time when I asked him to do something, he would do it. So it was very shocking the other night when I worked with him. He just refused to get off his phone. Thought because he had earbuds in, he would just stop talking when I came around. And I'm like, I know you're on the phone. So I'm not trying to be that type of manager where I have to bust you out while you're on the phone. It's like, hey, I'll wait till you get off the phone. Plus, I know he's very combative. I don't have time for it. So after like the fifth or sixth time, I just said, okay, I'm reporting back about his behavior to management. And they did write him up, which he needed. And they even had to send him home because he started being combative. Well, that's a red flag to me. He might need to be walked out that door because there's too many people that need a job. But then it's like, I noticed something with the company that I'm with. They hire anyone. Anyone. Let me just share about the experience briefly with the first store. So I came in there with my resume, which clearly highlights all my experience. I have a lot. And I was only offered the job of barista. Now, that was a time for me to negotiate to say, well, actually, I'd like to be considered for shift manager. But at the time, I didn't even realize that they were hiring for just that, for that position. I thought it was just open house for baristas. So that was kind of on me in the sense of not negotiating. So always make sure that you research all the positions open. Because a lot of times I've applied for an entry level position and quickly got asked, well, why not management? So that was on me. Okay. Well, during training, I definitely showed above and beyond. I was the only one in the store who could work in every section of the store. I took the same training as everybody else. It's just I took a lot of the online classes that they have for people to do. I took notes and I utilized my experience. So it was no wonder that when we opened the store, I was doing everything. And I mean everything. I was even training their managers. Because I noticed in training they had set aside about 6 individuals and said, these are going to be the shift managers. I took a look at 5 of them. I said, they're not going to make it. None of them had any coffee experience or cafe experience, anything like that. We even had management experience. So what were the qualifications that were looked at? Because I felt at that point, especially, seeing my performance in training, I was overlooked, clearly. And they literally, one guy, he got offered the shift management position when he said the pay was too low for the team member. So they were just being desperate, because that's what I felt like. I'm like, you guys are just desperately hiring people. You need to really assess their capabilities and their strengths and ask them questions and look at how they do in training and even after training. Another individual that got promoted as shift lead, he did so many no calls, no shows within the first 3 weeks of the store opening. He should have immediately been terminated. According to the employee handbook, he definitely had grounds to be terminated. He did so many no calls, no shows. And I actually saw an employee get terminated for doing the same behavior. Let's see. Then it was just a nightmare, because every shift I would work on, I worked all the shifts except for closing. I was doing all the work. Some of their shift leads felt like they're shift leads, so all they do is stand around and watch you. Like, really? No. You're supposed to be working just as hard, because who as a team member would respect you as a manager if all you're doing is sitting on your ass or standing around all the time, right? Exactly. So needless to say, I just worked extremely hard. I even found myself doing the store manager's job, and he was a trip and a half. We'll get to that in a sec. But he was known for being confrontational and argumentative with everyone. That should have been a red flag then and there. I mean, even just to look at him, the way he presents himself, nothing professional about him whatsoever. And it's just shocking when you have team members who laugh and say all he does is sit around and smoke cigarettes, because it's true. He was more than happy to see me doing his work. But what he didn't know, I'm doing this for a reason, because I'm getting promoted, whether it's here or another place, because I quickly saw that I was getting taken advantage of. I was the only employee who was 100% reliable. It could do so many things. They had a couple shift leads who felt like all they were supposed to do is just shipping or receiving or stocking and stuff like that. No, you got to be able as a manager to jump in anywhere at any time. So I got promoted very fast within a month, and I was very happy about that, because I deserved it. I worked hard for it in comparison to others where it was just simply given to them, just given. So part of the promotion was to be transferred to another store. Fine with me. So I come into the store, I had already had that experience, but say I'm going to give it a fresh start. And I realized that this is a company-wide issue, because they just opened 2 more locations since I've been transferred. One of the locations is already getting such bad reviews about poor performance. Another location that just opened up last week, they already got people not showing up to work, doing no calls, doing call-ins. What in the world is going on to where people are not motivated to come to work? Or is it that you're hiring the wrong people? And that's honestly what I feel like is going on, because I read the reviews for the entire company, for every location that it has. And the number one complaint that the customers have is customer service and the quality of either their food or their coffee beverage. And that's why I stand out and I excel, because I make sure things are done properly by the book. That's what I always refer to. Because people always say, I keep getting told so many different things by so many different managers. And I'm aware of that because I've experienced that at other jobs. And I kindly let people know, I'm going by the book. Let me show you by the book. So that way you know the proper way to do something. That's how a manager is supposed to be. And so this store, oh my gosh, I already had to deal with employees not knowing how to talk and managers not knowing how to talk to people. And I addressed that, and since then, honestly, the conversation has gotten so much better. I'm able to work with people because once I get to see your work ethic, your personality, I meet you where you're at. I have very high expectations and standards that I hold myself to. And see, that's the thing. When people see you busting your behind, they're willing to respect you and listen to you. And I came in new. They had so much high turnover, and everyone would just come in their store, train, and then leave. So I can imagine how, the store employees that have been there for a while felt like, okay, you're just a new person, probably don't even know anything, So I definitely had to prove myself very fast and be like, I know how to do this, I know how to do this, but I'm still willing to learn. I'm willing to learn from you. There's nothing better to gain someone's trust by asking them to show you how to do something, because then they feel like they're contributing and that they're appreciated. And I'm very big on positive feedback, reinforcement, and encouragement. Absolutely. You shouldn't just always come at an employee if they do something wrong. You should explain and show them the right way. And also give them their flowers. When they're doing a good job, let them know. Give them that personal and that public recognition. It goes a long way. So when we have different threads, because we have different chats, company wide, people can tell when I'm in the store because the mood online and in person is always positive, very engaging, very encouraging, and I like that. And I definitely can whip a store into shape immediately. I always do a test run. I used to do mystery shopping. So before I start working at the location, I go to the location unannounced, act like I'm just a regular customer, and I sit back and I observe how things are being done. So I know what I'm getting myself into. So I knew that from the jump. I was like, oh, they need me at this store because there was so many things going wrong. The biggest thing that I can say that's wrong with the store is understaffing. We're in a high traffic area. The store that I came from was a bigger store in terms of the size, but in terms of volume of sales, it just wasn't there yet. Yet they would have all these people on a shift, too many people. So I came from a store where I had to make work for myself to a store where the work is never ending, And anyone that's worked in a coffee shop or cafe, you have to have enough people in their positions to fulfill what the customers need. And then we're now doing deliveries with DoorDash. So that's even taking up a whole nother, time away from people doing what they're already doing. And several people have already shown they don't know what the fuck they don't know what in the hell they're doing. They don't. Even the DoorDash people, like when they saw that I wasn't running the shift, they were mad because they know I know how to get things done, and the expectations are very unrealistic with this store. And that's why I'm going to have to sit down and have a conversation with the store management to tell them Why I'm fed up. I've already sent an email to them. I thought that that would get the message through that there's too many issues with this store and with personnel saying that they weren't trained or not being trained. And I know for a fact that my training had got pushed to the side. And they're always like, we're going to get you all trained, but when? You can't just throw people on a shift. And that's what's happened. I've literally been thrown on a shift that I wasn't properly trained. It's just that I know to go to the right people to ask the right questions. And I would ask people who were most knowledgeable, how do I do this? I really appreciate you showing me this. Thank you. Yeah. That's how you get things done. And so back to the guy with the earbuds. So, yeah. So he's still working there, and he's probably pissed off because everybody has pretty much said something about him, doing that. At least if you're going to be on your phone, be working, get stuff done. I don't even mind if people, the other store used to have so many people working that they would just all go off together and go do tasks. Well, you know what? I don't have an issue with it as long as you guys are working. You can talk, within reason, because some of the things I be hearing about people personal life, I don't want to hear. The customers don't need to be hearing. I mean, damn. So, yeah. Then the next night, I get an employee who is constantly late. Constantly. And why hasn't this been addressed with them? So they show up late, and sure enough, as soon as they think nobody's looking, they're off in the back on their phone. I had to go back there. I'm like, excuse me, why are you back here? Oh, I need to figure something out on my phone. Really? Well, you need to let me know or let the other manager know so we can cover for you. So please do not do that again. Then they tried to play it where they came back late from their break. They came back at like 8:18. And they're like, oh, I need to leave early. It's personal emergency at home. That's like, well, how early are you? Because they're scheduled till 10. So I'm like, how early are you trying to leave? 8:45. I haven't even taken my break. The work is so much that I don't even get to take my break because I'm either going to ignore the customers or I'm going to take my break. Which one is it? Because they'll say, if you can't get everything done, just leave it for the next shift. But daggone well, there's certain things that you cannot leave for another shift. You have to do, especially when it comes to sanitizing, cleaning, things like that, And then if we close the store at 10, how do you figure people are going to be able to leave a store at 10:15, 15 minutes after we close? Now, if it was absolutely dead, I could see that. But we have a steady pace. We have to kick the customers out at 10 o'clock, And so most companies give you at least 30 minutes, minimum, really an hour, depending on what you have to do. Especially like, for example, with closing their cafe. They don't really cook. It's just, small little cafe offerings. So it's not like you have a whole ton of dishes and things like that to do. But there are a number of things that you have to do. So I've learned to shut down the cafe part early before I go on my break. So when I come back from my break, because I have to take my break last, I have to provide relief for the other employees to take their break. So for example, we got somebody on bar. They're only scheduled till 9:30. But you have to close down the bar at 9. So there's only but so much a person can do to pre-close the bar. And if anyone's ever worked in a coffee shop, 3 group heads, espresso machine, it's going to take a minute. Plus cleaning your coffee pots, deep cleaning, stocking, doing all this stuff, it's going to take a minute. At least an hour should be given to fully do that. I have to provide coverage so that person can close their bar, which means they can stop taking customers. Well, also, there's only 3 people assigned to a shift. Not enough, not hardly enough, because you always need one person to be at the cash register. You need one person at that cash register because there's a lot of stuff that they can buy. Like there's a pantry grocery component to the store. So it's 3 different areas that you have: the bar, the cafe, and the pantry grocery. So you need to have someone who can effectively ring people up. We're getting high sales. People are shopping. We sell alcohol and wine, biggest sellers. And we have DoorDash. So, in addition to everything that I have to do to run a shift, there's reporting that you have to do. You know, we have to do recon of all the items and counting inventory. It's a lot. Plus, making sure that the store is fully clean, all the trash is taken out, swept, and mopped, all these things. So, you have to be able to delegate. So, the person that's normally assigned to be the cashier is tasked with being bar support, with doing light stocking and refacing of the inventory, but also to be the cashier. That's very important. My job as a shift manager is to do everything and anything. Majority of my time now, because we do DoorDash, is focused on DoorDash. So I said, look, you need, because the other store that I had, that's one thing they would have is a dedicated person on every shift to do that. People are not playing with DoorDash. You know, the drivers, that's how they make their money. So they need that order ready when they get there. There's been some kinks with the technology to where we're getting an order, 5 minutes later, DoorDash is showing up. So there is, and then the phones that we were using to do it, there's been a little bit of a technology glitch with that. Still able to work through it. One of the biggest issues, though, how are we advertising stuff we don't have in stock? So clearly there's an inventory and stocking issue in the store. And I know because half the time I'll come into work, there's 6 managers on duty. There's an assistant manager, the store manager, 2 shift leads, and a team member. And there's still so much stocking and receiving and stuff that's not put out on the floor. I personally will walk the floor and find stuff in the back that should be out on the floor and bring it. If it's sitting in totes, we can't sell it. If we can't sell it, we're not making sales. That's a lot of waste because we have to spoil out food once it expires. So I've cut down on their spoilage tremendously by making sure as soon as we get inventory, it's entered into the system, it's received, and it's put on the floor. Now here's the thing too that I've had to mention. If you're swamped for time, at the very least, count your inventory, make sure it matches your invoice. Even if you haven't had time to enter it into the system, you can still put it out on the floor because you need to sell it. You know, you can delegate that task to someone else, but it's just sitting in totes. It's spoiling. It's not going to go good. And people are not going to buy stuff if it's not presented to them. And empty shelves does not look inviting to anyone, you know. So there are a lot of things that, you know, with the company, the way it operates in and of itself that I would like to change. But definitely the way stores are being ran and people are being trained definitely needs to change because there's just no excuse. So they wanted to leave early. I was just too tired to even argue with them. So I made sure before they left, they cleaned the bathrooms. They swept them up. They took out the trash. And it was like 9:18 when they left early. But still, the fact that you're playing games with me, you came late, you came back from your break late, I caught you on the phone just walking off, and now you want to leave early. So then that, you know, the other shift manager, he agreed to stay late, which helped out tremendously. But they're like, they expect you, if you're scheduled at 10, to be done by 10:15. So when stuff is not done, then people are going to say, well, why wasn't this done? And that's just using an excuse. Oh, you know, we ran out of time. Or there's just not enough time. Just not enough. You know. And there were even times they were going to say, well, we'll write you up. Not to me, but just in general, if you don't clock out by your time. So me and other managers were clocking out at our time, but still staying in the store till 10:30, almost 11, off the clock, working just to get everything done. So I wrote all that I can't take my breaks, being overworked, being short-staffed. I've worked on a Saturday. Everybody knows Saturday is a busy day for coffee shops and cafes, especially this one. It's situated next to a university, so you know it's going to be busy. You know, then it's in a nice shopping area. 3 people scheduled. You know, I can't be... If you ever go to Starbucks, you notice how they have people stationed as a cashier. And I don't work at Starbucks, by the way. And stationed as barista. That's how it's supposed to be. You know, you can alternate or switch, but you got to have somebody there primarily. I would be, even the customers would be like, oh, I'm so sorry you have to work a shift by yourself. Even though there's other people in the store, I'm being forced to work by myself. Handling the cashier rap, handling the barista. I mean, come on, enough is enough, you know. And then, yeah, I've seen many people just standing around talking to their friends, doing all kind of stuff. All right. So that was the second night. The third night, I'm working with a shift manager who got hired the same time I got transferred. Now, he's already a shift manager at another store and says he's been a manager, assistant manager for like 8 years. Can't hardly tell. Because the first thing that whenever you ask him to do something, he'll say, I don't know. I don't know how to do that. I wasn't trained. Well, you have to learn. You know, I tried to send him to go get boxes from the basement. I don't know where they're at. You'll find them. You know. So he tells me it's our first shift working together. He doesn't know how to make any of the cafe food. We have the recipes right there. All you got to do is follow the recipe. It's not even hard. You got to be willing to do. Then, okay, well, I need you to make the drinks then because I'm going on break. I don't know how to make the drinks. How have you been working here for 2 months and you don't know how to make a drink? You know, so yeah, part of it is that he has not been trained. But then how is he a shift manager? I don't expect a shift manager to not know how to do the basic functions. And I had already had to deal with that at the old store. You know, except for in that case, the shift managers were lying that they didn't know how to do something when they received the same training that I received. Alrighty, so 3 nights in a row. So last night, I suppose they had me to leave at 9:30. I had to tell this manager, shift manager, several times. He's going to have somebody up front at 9 o'clock so I can close down the bar. I had already started doing a lot of the pre-close stuff. And all he wanted to do was focus on stocking. And all he wanted the team member who was supposed to be doing cashier, bar support, and to help with DoorDash is stocking. You don't need 2 people stocking when there's 3 people in the store. And there are 3 functions that have to be done, more than that, you know. So close the cafe early. Now I told him, why not have her just close it completely so that way it's done. Nope, didn't want to listen. I told him how DoorDash is. I said, look, I've been working DoorDash the past couple days. So I know it's peak time and you're going to start getting slammed around 5, 6 o'clock. He's like, I'm just going to wait for them to show up to do the order. No, you're not supposed to do that. Then a guy was waiting for some wine. He's like, oh, he's not getting that order. What do you mean he's not getting that order? I'm not going in the back looking in boxes. That's your job. You're supposed to do that. We're not going to miss out on the sale just because you don't want to go look for something. That's so lazy. So all he wanted to do was stocking. And of course, they're supposed to get out of there at 10:15. They stayed till 10:30. I wound up having to stay till 10:15 because I was still ringing up customers past 9 o'clock. Why? Because am I going to ignore the customer? I asked for assistance several times. It did not come. He had the team member stocking at 9:30 at night. When no, stocking is secondary, and that should have been completed. You know, at 9:30, she should be doing closing stuff like sweeping, mopping, taking out the trash, cleaning the bathrooms, you know. Then he's always asking me, how to do this, how to do that. I'm just like, and I'm trying to close. So I had to tell this assistant manager today why I was so late getting out. And then it's like, is it really being late getting out, or is it the time frame given not realistic at all? So that's why I'm at the point where I don't know. I feel like I'm going to start looking for another job because I cannot go on like this. Oh, so let me get the kicker. They scheduled me to close. So even if I would have got out there at 9:30, I had to be back at 6:30 in the morning. It takes me an hour to get home. Even if I live right down the street. You know, most people, especially if you work at night, it's not just easy to fall asleep. You come home, you got stuff to do, you take your shower. Even if you take your shower and just get into bed, it's hard to fall asleep. So I got like maybe 5 hours of sleep, exhausted. Then you have to consider the fact, if somebody closes the night before, You don't want them to be back at the store in like 8 hours, because how many hours of sleep are they going to get? And then you need them to work a full 8 hour shift, So it's kind of like I have to have this talk with the store manager to be like, I don't know if you realize, but when somebody closes at night after working a full shift, they're tired. They have things to do when they get home, called life, laundry, cooking, family, whatever. And then you expect them bright and early in the morning. That's overworking somebody, and they already know the issues. I've had 3 nights in a row. I'm just like, wow. So I mentioned how on Saturdays we're slammed. So it was ironic that since I was the only one working the bar and the cashier, who you think got all the tips? Me, because those are my tips. I worked for them. You two were not even up here. And that's the thing I don't agree with. We don't have electronic tipping, which sucks, so we only get cash. But we don't accept cash. So how does that work? So tips, most tips I've ever gotten was like $3 for the whole day. Yesterday, I worked so hard, I made $20. And yes, I kept all my tips because the people gave them to me because they saw how hard I was working. Literally. At the end of the night, stuff that we have to spoil out, like pastries and stuff like that, rather than throw them away, I offer them to the customers, especially the paying customers. They're already buying a pastry. So if I know that I got to throw it out, tell you what, 2 for 1. They love it. People love getting free stuff. And it's like, it's a lot that's missing in terms of how this store is being operated. And the kicker, which pissed me off today, was when there's a checklist of doing, ironically, DoorDash and deliveries. And all I need is the manager to just sign off on it so I can move on to the next module. They know that I know how to do it because I've been doing it. Yeah. So I thought it would be just as simple as let me send them a text like, hey, I have this observation checklist that I would like you to sign off on so I can go on to the next task. And they're like, I need to see you doing it. I'm like, wait a minute, but you know that I've already know how to do it. And it doesn't say that you need to see me do it. Like, let's break down the root of the word. Observe. I looked it up. To become aware, to be conscious of, to be told, to be informed, or to see, to perceive something. So it's very redundant that now they want me to sit back and show them what I've already been doing that they already know, because otherwise, how could it possibly get done? And they were just like trying to be smart about it. Well, if it says observe, then I need to physically see. And I had to break down the root, the definition of observe, and then break down the definition of perceive. And I was like, so if you need to physically observe me doing what you already perceive me to know how to do, that's fine. Have a great weekend. And of course, I know they didn't like that because now they want to have a conversation with me. But we're definitely going to have a conversation. And I don't feel that the conversation is going to go how they plan, because I may just be tempted to walk out the door. I'm tired. I'm fed up, tired. It was nonstop busy today. Their expectations are just not aligned. Like, for example, we serve different hot foods in the morning. And so they'll print off a sheet that says you should only put out one of this or one of that based off sales. But here's the thing. Things fluctuate. It could be a good guide mark, but no way we're going to just keep making more food and more food and more food. Well, we can just make enough. You can hold it at a proper time and temperature for a certain period of time. That's why I have my serve handlers. Say food handlers. And I'm getting ready to get the food managers certification. So even the people working was like, this doesn't make sense. Why are we only putting out a few of these when we're going to have to wind up making more? And it's getting colder. So yes, hot food is going to go fast, very fast, especially in the morning. Well, they told me, oh, that's just too much. It's going to spoil. And I wanted to go back to them and be so giddy to be like, it all sold out. Everything that I put out that you said was too much, because I look at the flow of the customers and what they are expecting, and clearly store management is not reading the reviews about the location, because people are saying it takes too long to get their food, it takes too long to get their drink, people need training, not courteous, tables not wiped off, stuff like that. I feel like you're the store manager, you should know. The person that they have assistant manager just recently got promoted from a shift manager to the assistant manager, and they told me today they felt overwhelmed. I can believe it, because it's not enough people working the shift. Even the guy that I worked with last night, he even said so. Other people have said so. Other managers have told her, we need a dedicated person to do deliveries, and she just laughed. Well, that tells me you're not taking this seriously, So I feel like I want to invite her. Please. Well, first of all, I feel like you should always have a store manager and assistant manager do a closing shift, even if it's just one. I get it. They feel like, well, we're upper management, we're salaried, so we don't have to work in the evening. But you're making me and other shift managers work in the evening and not listening to us about the flow in the evening. So I'm definitely, during this conversation, going to invite her. Please come work one shift with us in the evening to see what we do, but also to make sure that the staff know what to do. Your shift managers should already know, but clearly they're not getting trained. So to make sure that this occurs, and I guarantee they're not going to take me up on my offer, because that's too much like correct, But that's how it should be. If I was a store manager, I would definitely want to know what's going on in my store, especially in the evening time. And this is not just that store. It seems to be every company primarily that I've worked for, especially in hospitality. Upper management does not want to work in the evenings. I guess they feel like, nope, I'm just 8 to 5 or whatever the case. And then all these issues occur at night and you can't figure out why, or you have personnel issues. And this store has had high turnover. You got people calling off all the time. All the time. I've picked up their shifts. So then they were like, no, people can't just swap shifts. Okay, so when people call out, who are you calling? Exactly. I've had my shifts cut. I've been sent home early. I've even been called an hour before I'm scheduled to work, less than an hour. I'm on my way to work to be told, oh, we're over hours, so we're not going to need you. So I feel like when I sent the email, I told them maybe a conversation needs to be held with the district managers and the higher managers to say, it's because I know that they get on them about labor hours. Hours is not just about sales, especially when you have inventory to receive, you have stocking, you have cleaning, you have administrative stuff that needs to be done. So it needs to be more directed to the flow of traffic and customers, because if you're only, and a lot of companies do this, when I worked at another company, same thing, understaffed because of labor hours. So a lot of companies look at the cost of labor and associate that with sales, and you cannot always do that, especially when you have multiple things that need to be done and can be focused on. For example, when the girl told me that, I asked her, do you know how to close down a cafe? She said, well, I closed it before, but I got a lot of complaints. So this is a red flag to me that whoever complained about her should have taken the time to show her the proper way, so that way there's no more complaints. That did not occur. I took the initiative and the time to show her the proper way to do it. And guess what? She did a great job. And she said, I know that I could be great at the bar, but they never put her on the bar. So that's probably why she's standing around as a cashier. You have to give people work and let them show you what they're capable of. This morning, when I came in, they asked one of the young ladies, do you want to open the bar? You've never done it before, but do you want to do it? She said, yeah. She did a great job. And I told her so, and I encouraged her. And, that's how it's supposed to be. Let people show you what they're capable of doing and train them properly. So I feel like I'm ready to be an assistant manager. And it's probably not going to happen. Well, we already have one at my store, but it's probably not going to happen at another store. So I'm going to have to go outside the company. And then I'm like, well, why stop there? Why not be the store manager? Because I have a lot of management experience. And unfortunately, a lot of companies want you, and it's not unfortunate, but they want you to have like 2 years experience, right? You could have 2 years experience. You could have 8 years experience and still know what the hell you're doing. So definitely, they need to look at stuff on a case-by-case basis. I have my master's degree in business administration. It's 10 years old, but still, I know how to run a business, definitely, and look at all the perspectives. Make sure that everything is done and how to delegate and talk to people and inspire them, So I'm just like, oh my gosh. I love what I do. The customers are great. Every now and then you get one who's nasty, but it is what it is. I just don't see how long I'm going to be able to last with this store manager. And that's why I already had to speak up about one store manager. Get transferred. Situation has gotten a little bit better, but not as much so because unrealistic expectations, not having proper training, and then just like, how do I tell somebody that's a manager, please don't schedule me to open after I've already closed? I'm tired, exhausted. It was nonstop there. But it's going to have to be done, And then, of course, usually sometimes people, they don't like when you speak up. They reduce your hours. They cut your shifts. She's trying to hire more people. And I'm like, give the people who already work here more hours, because unless they're part-time, well, some people, maybe their ability is just part-time. Who can survive? Shift managers should definitely be given 5 days a week. We need it. We got bills to pay. And that should be one of the perks of being in management. And on top of that, it's like your team members should be part-time, not your managers. Because when you have a manager that's only working 3 days a week, no wonder he can't remember stuff. I'm there constantly, so I'm able, to remember. So I definitely feel like I'm going back into consulting, And I'm just ready for the next level. I really am. I work hard. I learn very fast. I pick up on stuff, So wish me well, y'all.